They assemble at night, each one having prepared as diligently as possible to the time given to them before the witching hour, the hour of reckoning, the time when they begin outdoor cartoon television. Stray Cats is on the air.
What the heck? Oh, hey, it's you guys. What are you doing here? This is Stray Cats off night. Like, we're off tonight. But you guys are here, and I'm here. So, hey, let's do a show. What do you think? I'm Pat Renwick. This is the glorified version of a bass fishing talk show, Best of Crankbaits edition. Yep, tonight we have the best of crankbaits. Some of the best crankbait fishermen in the world have graced us with their presence on Stray Cats. Rick Clunn, Kevin VanDam, David Fritz, Takahiro Omori, Greg Hackney. All those guys tonight are going to tell you how to catch some fish on crankbaits, and we're going to do it Stray Cat style and have some fun. Oh, this is my house, by the way. Hi, welcome to the home of homes. And well, I gotcha. You know, it wouldn't be right if we didn't talk about a few things before the show starts. By the way, you could still chat along right here on this Live Not Live show on the chat board. And JP High, Popcorn Whitaker, Ryan Popcorn Whitaker, yeah, you know him. Andrew Ellenberger, the Red Viking, the Ginger Ninja, and myself will all be on the chat tonight. So feel free to just chat along and have fun. But while I gotcha, hey, oh wait, look at this. If you haven't already, we just got a bunch of stuff in from Half a Spot today. That's right. Ooh, look at this Half a Spot Power Ranger deal. But if you haven't already signed up for Half a Spot, halfaspot.com, download the Half a Spot app on your iPhone or your Android. It's an awesome application to help you find some spots, and there's some cool online derbs. Halfaspot.com. Also, the MTB just got here. Another MTB, shopcarls.com. That's right, it's where I got my mystery tackle box. And what else can we say? Look at this. Going in the whoa! Yeah! Don't stop trying. BubbaandHanks.com, code word FISH, gets you 15% off Wagyu beef. That's right, 15, look at this beef. Beef, 15% off Wagyu, BubbaandHanks.com. Hey, you know what's a constant? You know what's a constant in all of our lives that never changes? Gold. That's right, birchgold.com/straycats. An amazing way to take your savings, part of your savings, your 401k, and turn them into a precious metal IRA. Why not? Why not? You could do it. Part of your savings. Go to birchgold.com/straycats for a free info kit today. Hey, all right. So we're getting to it, busting things out. As you see, the first best of live Stray Cats. Did I get everything in here? I think I got everything in here. All right, now let's go outside. Let's go to the Crestliner and see what we got cooking in here. What do you think? Take a walk with me. This is the corridor. It's like we're actually going on a fishing trip, and this is about when I usually leave. I never go in the morning, as my friends will attest. So as we hop in the liner here, hold on, we'll put the amphibs on. But let's get down to the business and the matter of what we're really doing tonight. What we're really doing. So check this out. Here's the storage. in the crest line. So in here, if you can see, I have 19 rods, 19 of them, and 10 of them are all winders. They're all some kind of graphite, composite of a glass, because I wind with them. And also, the love of the crankbait. There's balsa flattened rounds. Here's the 1.5s. Wood. More balsa bills. More wood. All the new Berkeley cranks. Oh, they're all coming out of here. You see this mess? All the new Berkeleys. The square bolts, the Fritz sides. But the bottom line is that crankbaits are very important to us as bass fishermen. Search tools, weapons that we use to catch fish. Yep, the crankbait. So what I would like you to do is, hey, in fact, let's do it together for the first time ever. Let's do it together. Let's put these power poles down. Let's not go anywhere, and let's enjoy the best of crankbaits on Almost Live Stray Casts. Kevin VanDam, Rick Clunn, Greg Hackney, David Fritz, and Takahiro Omori coming your way in a minute. I'm putting the power poles down. I ain't going nowhere. Boom.
Things you let me see.
The all-new XF series by Crestliner. Simplistic perfection with performance features built on a platform for success. The amazingly affordable XF series by Crestliner. A brand new way to reel in bass. For more information and to find your local dealer, visit Crestliner.com today. The Crestliner Real Deal Sales Event. The best time to buy is now at Crestliner.com. Save up to $3,000 today.
Hey, it's Carl, and I've got some big plans this fishing season. I'm hoping to get in the best shape of my life to have some of the best fishing of my life. And I want you to join me for Carl's spring training. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.
This is the mountain, and this is mountain whiskey. Unspoiled, untamed, forever wild. There's no safety net, no way down. Up here, it's just man, and the mountain, and his tin cup. Tin cup whiskey. Mountain whiskey.
Can you give me some of those variations that you use in those categories? Wind, flip, drag, top waters. I mean, the favorites, the go-tos, the staples of Greg Hackney.
You know, used to like fishing. I still, one of my favorite ways to catch them is on a spinnerbait. But I'll be honest with you, a thunder cricket to me catches twice as many fish now as a spinnerbait does.
That happens,
so
doesn't it?
So that's like, it's kind of like a replacement for the spin, not a replacement for the spinnerbait, but the spinnerbait for me now personally has become more of a niche bait, where the bladed jig has become more of tied on 365. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's hot, cold. I mean, I've just shelled them at home with it, you know, before the spawn, after the spawn. It doesn't,
it's like, always on.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, you know, all of our guys throw it. You know what I mean? Like, it's, everybody's throwing it because it's catching fish. I wonder if in time that will be one of those baits that will be like a spinnerbait. It'll always be around, but maybe there'll be something else that comes along down the line that kind of takes. But that's one, like, happens, I'm still square bill. I mean, I'm just a big fan of a square bill. I like big square bills. I like a 2.5. I like a 4.0. You know, I mean, I like a 8.0. I like big square bills.
Hey, while you're talking about the square bills, I want to ask you something. You You always have a wood one tied on as well. I
do.
I know that about you. And I think
I don't talk
everybody.
about it, but
I know
I
you
do.
don't talk about it, but I mean, we all see it as bass anglers, and I mean, that 1.5 amazing square bill. I've caught hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fish on the dang thing, but I've also caught hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fish on the wood baits as well. And there's a time and a place for both of them. There really is. There's a time and a place, and I want you to tell us the straight up skinny. When are you throwing the wood, and when are you throwing the plastic? Be straight about it.
More times than not, like there'll be something. If I'm cranking grass, it's all about a 1.5 or a 2.5. Rock, typically 1.5, 2.5. Around wood, fishing extremely shallow. Maybe the water is extremely hot. Maybe there's high fishing pressure. There are certain situations when that, again, it kind of goes back to the even flow, but in situations where it just screams that wooden bait.
Yeah, and
the wooden bait is a niche bait for me. All right, so growing up, I didn't throw anything but a wooden square bill.
you see that one right there?
I see it.
That's a OG original mint Bagley Balsa B3 in 09. You know 09. That's the old chartreuse black bag, Mr. Hackney. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have one or two.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm going to be real about this. You remember back in 2000 when Rick Clunn won just about everything in the world on this bait right here. And we were all paying, we were trying our best to find them. We were digging in Grandpa's boxes. We were digging in our stuff. We were going to old tackle stores, and we're all guilty of paying outrageous prices for these baits. I paid $100 plus for these baits. I'm that dumb. And hand carves are not cheap either. But they do special things, man. They do. There's a magic.
They do. They're a niche. You know what I mean? They're a niche bait that it's nothing else has ever filled that niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can force those other baits. They just don't do the same thing. They're softer. I'll be honest with you. They don't hit as hard. They're softer. The good ones to me, they work real easy, if that makes sense. You don't have to turn the reel at a fast rate of speed. You get, the right action out of them.
And what is that? What is it? They work right. They work easy. What is that? Is that hunting? Is that a hunting bait?
Well, yeah, but some extent. But like some of the better ones that I've had do not hunt center. Like I don't have to have one that hunts center for it to be good.
Okay. Well,
if you're cranking it out in open water, that hunting center makes sense. Okay.
yes.
But if I'm fishing around a piece of cover, I'm going to make it deflect. I don't need it to. I don't necessarily, if I'm throwing at a piece of cover, whether it be a cypress tree, a piece of wood, what it would be, I don't want it to go off track. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Clunn has said that many times too, but not explained it like that.
Well, so the deal is, if I'm throwing out there, what's cool about a bait that hunts center is, and like now, most of like 1.5s, they do that.
Right.
Out in open water. So what that does is it gives that bait that deflection like action when it didn't hit anything, which would trigger those fish to bite it. But if I pull up on a piece of wood, the last thing I want it to do is when I throw it to hit the piece of wood is to run off of it. I don't want to just get to the goods and all of a sudden it runs to the left.
Right. You want to be knocking that. You want to knock that.
Yeah, I need it to track true when you're fishing a piece of wood. So it's not that big a deal for me for them to, they've always said, oh, well, if it goes out, wanders off to the left and it wanders off to the right and it comes back to center, that's the one you want. But that's not necessarily true, because when I'm cranking a piece of wood, I want to know where it is all the time. You know what I mean? When I crank it down, I want it to hit the wood. I'm making it hit the wood. I don't need it to do that. But like out in open water, that's a huge key, because you're not hitting anything, or you cranking over grass, for it to hunt center, to go back and forth. But on a piece of wood, I just need it to have the right action. And I know when I tie, and again, that's one of these deals I can't explain, just goes by experience, but I can pick up a wooden square bill, because none of them are the same. Because the problem with a wooden square bill, what made plastic baits, so this is the deal. If I throw a plastic bait out there and get it hung, I ain't scared to break it off, because I got another one in my box that will do the exact same thing. The problem with a wooden bait is no two pieces of wood are exactly the same.
Yeah, buddy.
So you never get two wooden baits that are the same. So you would have to go, that was Clunn's biggest issue with the wooden bait, was he hated them because you had to go through 4 or 5 of them to find one that was good, or one, not necessarily one that was good, but one that did what he wanted.
What he wanted.
To do.
Yep. His ABCs.
Yeah. And so back in the day, like guys, like the wooden crankbait builders are much better now than they were then, because then they just took a piece of balsa wood and they carved a plug out of it. So they didn't do it. So they got another piece of wood and they built another one. So now some of these builders, actually they weigh their wood. So they try to get 2 pieces of wood that are as close as possible the same. So the wooden baits are as close.
They
as they
get
can
sciencey. They get sciencey.
Yeah. So they figured that out. So that's the reason that all these wooden baits are different, because the wood's different. You can't cut 2 trees down and the wood weighs exactly the same.
Exactly.
So that was the reason. So now they've gotten better. You know what I mean? Like they're more consistent. Now, if you buy a wooden bait, chances are if you buy another one, it is real similar to the first one you bought, because these guys that are built, they're not mass producing them. They're only producing a small number. Bagley baits were mass produced back in the day, so they were going through lots of wood, so.
Yeah. Different years, different grades.
But the deal is, people got tired of, you can't touch the trolling motor with one, it explodes.
Yes.
Pose crankbait, same way. 300 pose and 400 pose were great deep plugs.
And
but,
I got that one there.
Yeah. They come all to pieces if you touch you touch anything with them, where I can pick up that KVD 1.5 and beat it all around the boat and fire it out.
Bang that grass right off it, right?
Yeah, that's right. So there's, again, wooden baits have their place, but they're just more niche for me now. I don't like to depend on them as much as, I once did, because that's another thing. Used to, when you went in the tackle store, so there was a place in Crossett, Arkansas, Jim Sportabout. My whole life had a wall of Bagley crankbaits. I never bought but 2. I'd go in and buy 2 chartreuse and black ones. If something happened to it, I'd go back and buy another one. I never dreamed there would be a day where you couldn't buy them anymore.
Right.
I mean, had a wall of them. I could buy all the Bagley crankbaits I wanted. It wasn't a big deal, And, it's funny. There have been a lot of old baits like that have went away. You know what I mean? Or went away from the way they were. Wiggle warts. That's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they're still made or whatever, but there's a huge cult following for original wiggle warts.
Absolutely.
And again, what that original wiggle wart did, it wonders. It hunts center. It goes back and forth. It's crazy. David Fritz, I had a conversation with him about that, and he didn't like that, because he wants that bait when he throws it out there and reels it. He wants to know exactly where it is.
100%. Yep.
He wants to put it where he wants to put it at. So there's an argument for both sides on those baits. The ones that work, that are wild acting, and the ones that hunt straight. But when you're trying to hit a certain spot, and you want to hit that spot every cast, you need a bait that tracks straight.
Have you ever personally sat down with Clunn and had a square bill discussion, like the 2 of you? Just the 2 of you?
We did. Actually, it was at a Bass Open at Columbus, and Columbus, Mississippi, and on the Tom Bigby. And the deal was, him and I were fishing in a similar area, and I'm leading after the first day. This has been, I don't know, a long time ago. Anyway, I was catching them on a B3, Bagley's B3, and the deal was, the second day, I caught a big one and another keeper right off and messed it up. And I didn't have another one like it, because this would have been early 2000. This would have been about 2000. It's about when it was.
Okay.
I just started fishing maybe it was 2002, 1 or 2. I don't know. Anyway, I just started fishing the opens. It was either the first or second time. I guess it was the second year I fished the opens. And we were in an area, and anyway, we were talking, and he had, I can't remember what plug it was, but anyway, he had some wooden plugs then or whatever. And we had that conversation, and that's what came up about the conversation was, he said, that's the reason he quit using them, because every time you got one working right and something happened, then you didn't have another.
Yeah. And then it jacks with you up here too.
And he was doing everything that he possibly could to find, something else I can't remember. You would know those wooden baits that he was
Thunder
using then.
shads. They were thunder somethings. Were they the ones he was making?
Yeah, and they had a square. They were square bill and they were wooden, but I think they were made of cedar. I don't think they were. I can't remember if they were made of Basst or not. But anyway, him and I had that conversation. I still ended up high in the tournament. I didn't win, but and I don't know if the baits I had after that, it bothered me mentally. See, that was the other issue, and I think that was what he didn't like about them. When one of them went bad, you had one good, and you're catching fish on it. Something happens to it, kills your mentality.
Oh, it messes you up a big time.
It messed me up during that term. And so the deal is now, so when you pick up one that you don't feel like is as good, you don't have that confidence with it. You don't fish it as well. Anytime you have confidence in a bait, you will fish it to a point where you can probably catch them.
You're unstoppable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel unstoppable.
Yeah, you feel every cast you're going to catch one, and that's the way you got to be. And when you get one that was messed up, anyway, that was a big reason I quit. Got away from them too. I'm not completely again.
You always got one tied on. You always have one in.
I got a box of them in this truck right now, and I will throw it here in Florida if I need to. But more times than not, I'm not doing. I don't do that. It's kind of a niche.
Sure.
More of a niche.
What's the bait? Like what? I mean, I don't expect you to give away the exact juice, but what are you doing? You got old Bagleys. Is that your go-to? Are they hand?
No, I don't have any anymore. I got rid. The baits I have now are still produced. They're produced now.
Okay.
It's just a guy making them in his shop. Or
just a hand carve, a little mom and popper.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. There's some good
and
ones.
they're and he just copied original that bait that you just picked up and showed everybody.
Yeah,
he copied. I have 2s and 3s, and he copied that bait. That's the bait he copied. The bill's in the same place, the eyelet's in the same place.
There's a bit. 1990, you started out, and then 1992, your first AOY, and everyone now is like they're taking heed. They're like, who is this speed freak? Who is this bass freak speed demon with this new approach to bass fishing that's kicking our ass? Now, they're all taking heed. They're looking at you now, Kevin. The Larry Nixons, the George Cochrans, the Ricky Clunns, the Denny Browers. They're like, who's this kid from Kalamazoo? And why is he fishing so fast? I mean...
They still ask me that.
I know. I mean, you revolutionized that form of power fishing. Now, certainly, Rick Clunn has been doing variations of it forever. Okay, maybe one of your role models in that aspect of power fishing, I'm assuming.
For sure.
But you, man, you do everything. You even flip fast, bro. I've watched you flip, and you're like, toing, toing, tong, 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 bing, bing, bong, bong, boom, boom, out.
It's my, you can't change who you are or your nature, your style. And, it's just, it's just always been my philosophy. And these multi-day events, that you got to have a lot of areas to fish. You got to cover a lot of water, and you got, I'm not trying to catch every dang bass out of the area, but it's changed a lot in that sense. You can't go back over water now. The guys are too good. The mapping's too good with GPS, and everything's so much better than it was in the early days when I started competing equipment wise, that you just can't leave a spot that's got a group of fish on it. Now you got to sit there and, throw a Ned rig or a Ocho or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, you got to do that, but it's still, and a lot of the lakes we go to, it sets up where you can pattern fish, and you can do that. And day in and day out, that's, if you're on a decent sized body of water, that's the way, I think it's the way to have a shot to win.
Was there ever a time where you spent time saying, all right, I got to learn how to do this slow fishing thing? Was there ever a time in your career where you spent time learning that?
Remember?
Yeah, I've always finesse fished some, but I mean, I would say in the last 10 years, especially, you got to finesse, you got to clean up, you got to have, you got to have that ready to go, to make sure you're milking everything you can off of the spot. And I've won several tournaments fishing that way, in recent years. Just, power fishing is my go-to. I find everything. That's how you locate the fish. That's how you cover the lake. That's how you figure out the patterns. But in the end, a lot of times during the competition, you gotta, put the drop shot on, or shaky head, or Nico rig. And I love new stuff, but I'm obviously a little hard headed at times. I mean, I had the opportunity to have a lot of baits to myself over the years, way ahead of time. It's too hard headed to realize the Ned rig. I mean, Ned Cade was a friend of mine. I gave him the zeros that he figured that whole thing out with 10 years before Ned rigging was even anything. And he told me about it, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I mean, that goofy looking little rig, what is it? And now it's like the hottest finesse technique out there.
It's nuts.
That floating 3X, yeah.
Hey, Rick, have you ever played a game show before? Have you ever been on a game show?
No.
All right, we play little game shows on this Stray Cast Outdoor Cartoon Television show, and we got a little game show. It's called 3 on Deck, 1 in Hand, and basically what it is there's a new rule that Trip Weldon and I have initiated here for the remainder of the Elite Series, and you're only allowed to have 4 rods and reels and 4 baits. Okay, and it's called 3 on Deck, 1 in Hand. And we're going to ask you to tell us what those 4 rods and reels that you have to work with are. Are you ready, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What's the first combo, Rick?
Would be a deep diving crankbait and a shallow diving crankbait, like a square bill.
Okay, so the one rod is got a what? A deep diving crankbait?
Right, because you didn't tell me what season, so I'm just trying to cover all seasons.
Yeah, you got to cover all seasons, and you get 4 rods and reels and 4 baits, and they're laid out on the deck. What are the 4 rods and reels and the 4 baits?
Yeah, I fish all the same rods and reels pretty much. So it's a 7.5 foot heavy action with it's a Johnny Morris wide spool that carries a lot of line. I'm going to probably have a deep diving freak on, and then I'm going to have a medium sized square bill on with like an RC3 or an RC4. And then the next 2 rods and reels would be a spinnerbait. Probably a 3/4 ounce with medium to large long drop blades. And the other one would be probably just a jig, and if I've got to cover all seasons.
A good old jig. Right there.
That'll do it.
And I knew the answer to this, but you won anyway, Rick Clunn. You won. Congratulations. Yes. Wow. They're Rick Clunn.
This sounds like the Ellen DeGeneres show where she gives away a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what it is. You won absolutely nothing, Rick, but thank you. But, that trickster spinnerbait, it's for lack of a better way to put it, that's kind of a hidden little gem, that trickster. As effective as it is, and I've caught zillions of fish on it, it doesn't seem that it's been accepted by the masses. Does that make any sense?
No, it really hadn't been. It hadn't been the anglers' fault. It hadn't been the masses' fault. It's really that bait's been caught with a company that's been up and down and changing hands and being bought out by other people. And every time we're just about to get it rolling and get it available, something else happens. It gets bought out. Something else, and it gets put on the back burner, and it's unfortunately been a back burner bait, and so it's really, I have a lot of demand for it, but I've never got in a stable time frame where we can produce enough to really supply the anglers with it. But the long drop blade is probably the best blade that I will ever throw. And I basically chose it. I made it about 10 or 15 years ago because I like the willow leaf and I like the Indiana. And I said, why don't I make one that's like a long like a willow leaf but had rounded in like an Indiana? And that's what I did. And it's just been an incredibly effective bait. It's a big fish bait. Willow leaves you can catch a lot of fish on, but they're not really known for catching big fish. And I'm talking about 7+ type fish. And, of course, the classic, biggest bass ever caught in the Bassmaster Classic, 10-something was caught on that long drop blade.
We all remember.
Now, that's only the second biggest in the Classic because Preston Clark caught one off the bed that very same day on Toho that was 11-something.
Definitely the biggest one on a spinnerbait.
Yeah, unbelievable. That fish catch is classic, too.
My favorite fish catches.
No doubt.
Step up your game. It has been said that professionals are only as good as the tools they work with, and Alpha Angler has developed the ultimate set of tools for you, the competitive angler. Alpha Angler custom rods, brought to fruition by the passion of master craftsman Jake Boomer and 2017 BASS Angler of the Year Brandon Palaniuk. Alpha Angler rods are custom made in the USA, designed and engineered to be perfect. Alpha Angler utilizes a very unconventional approach to making the very best bass rods, from drop shotting to flipping. Alpha Angler's focus is on building perfectly balanced tournament-grade bass rods at an affordable price. Join the Alphalution today and purchase direct at alphaangler.com. Step up your game. alphaangler.com.
T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff.
The TH Marine Hydrowave H2 KVD Edition is a surefire way to ignite a feeding frenzy. The Hydrowave utilizes a sound-emitting technology that imitates bait fish and other feeding fish below the surface that preys on the competitive nature of bass and other game fish to get you more bites. The Hydrowave is another way that TH Marine has you covered from transom to trolling motor.
As a professional angler, I rely on my equipment to be successful on the water, and my eyewear is no exception. Oh, yep, good one. 6-pounder, 7-pounder. From daylight till dark, every single day of my life, in the truck, on the water. My Amphibia eye gear provide 100% polarized protection. They're ANSI safety rated for impact, and best of all, they float.
It was right there. So now, do you still have the swimming pool where you test baits in it?
Of course I do.
Of course I do. Do you have a slip and slide that leads into that pool or no?
Not much. What was that?
Nothing. I'm being a jerk. But how do you test the baits in that pool? Tell me like the procedure. What's Tok's procedure?
Well, I get a lot of new baits. I heard about it, whatever. Every year, every day this whole industry come up with new baits, right? And something I want to interested in, somebody want a tournament with that bait, whatever, I bring up to the home and I just try to see how they swim. You have to have clear water to be able to see it. That's why I made my own swimming pool to test my bait. And I use it daily to just, instead of going to the lake, you can see exactly how they bait swim, or come back from the tournament, the bait, I caught a lot of fish. I just let them see how they swim compared to other ones,
Sure. Mm-hmm. So
that's still I use a lot, and that's helped me to understand visually how those each bait swim differently.
So how do you categorize? Like, I know that obviously wood crankbaits all behave differently, right? You could have two identical wood balsa crankbaits and they'll behave completely different than each other. And then it also kind of happens with plastic crankbaits, although the consistency, like in your Lucky Crafts, it's a more consistent action, but certainly you probably find in your testing, Tok, that the Lucky Crafts do behave differently also, correct?
Yes.
So do you categorize them and have special ones like a Derby Day tournament and a practice crankbait? Do you categorize them at all?
I did. I had a Sharpie to put like A plus, A or B, and I saved A plus for the tournament days.
And what is an A plus crankbait? What is that?
Even the same, like a Barsa B, Baggery, whatever, Lucky Crab. It's more likely same. I have like maybe 50, 60 same bait, and just keep learning to see how they swim. Sometimes they go more like hunt, or some ones go a little deeper, stuff like that. I see. So I just put the A+, A or B, so I know what it is.
Gotcha. So, but I still don't understand that.
Yeah.
So the A+ is like what? It runs perfectly, or it hunts, or it's the deeper one. What is an A+ crankbait to you, Tak?
Usually A+, I put it on for the balsa baits, means they kind of like hunt.
Gotcha.
And if I read them super fast, they start like go crazy.
They do that. They juke. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, same time, if hunt too much, fish miss it, so they snag in the heads, whatever. So, you know, sometimes I like to run straight, going deeper. But it all depends on the bait. But usually the good ones run straight, and if I wind in fast, they start going a sideway.
Okay.
But I mean, it's hard to explain. You have to see it.
Gotcha. No, I'm with you. I know exactly what you're saying.
Medium hunting.
Yeah. So there's different variations of the hunt.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it. Gas Outdoor Cartoon Television. I'm your host, Pat Renwick. 2018 Forest Wood Cup action happens live, continues from the Hot Springs Convention Center. And we're pretty excited to bring to you right now, in my eyes, the Duke of Crankbait Fishermen. Ladies and gentlemen, warm studio audience, round of applause for David Fritz. Yes. The Big Duke. What's up, Dave?
Oh, just hanging out.
It's good to have you back.
Glad to be here.
You are in Sport Expo Show Wonderland right now.
Yep, we are.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's always cool to have you on. And I mean that sincerely. I mean, like, when I think of crankbait fishermen, there's a few guys I think of, and definitely, you've heard it a million times. You are right up there in that list, man. You are the Duke of Cranking.
I have throwed one before.
Yeah, I heard that about you. I heard that about you, man. And summertime is the perfect time for fishing a crankbait. Well, in my opinion, all year round is a crankbait time.
Yeah, it is. You know, you got about, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks when it's not real good. That's when they're spawning. Any other time, you can catch them with a crankbait.
Back to it.
Oh, yeah.
Back to it. And I got to ask you about this right off the bat, because I was so fascinated by this last time you were on the show when you talked to us about cranking with braid.
Yeah.
And that seemed just so ridiculous to me. But it works for you.
Well, I don't know what's ridiculous. I mean, you know, you got zero stretch. You can fill your bait 100 times better. And, you know, the problem with most braid is you got to find a braid that you can cast. If you find something you can cast, you're going to become a better crankbait fisherman just because you can fill your bait so much better.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that, of course, goes along with the rod and reel setup, too.
It does.
The glass
it does.
rod.
Yep. Yep. With, you know, with my cranking rod and you know, the non-infinite and reverse reel that Luz makes is a BB1 called a multi-stop.
Gotcha.
You know, that's good as it gets. You want to be a better crankbait fisherman, it's almost, you have to have that, or either a real old reel that doesn't have infinite and reverse.
Like the old Luz.
Yep. Or old Abu's, or Daiwa made them. Everybody made them once upon a time.
Right.
But yeah, it's
And what's that do? It's just that little bit of extra bit of.
Well, what it is, you know, the handle will go back. It's not infinite and reverse. So the infinite and reverse clutch actually takes a lot of the feel out of the reel.
Really?
Yeah, when you're winding a spinnerbait, a chatterbait, a crankbait, and when you can get that feel back, that's the ticket.
Okay.
And that's what happens. You feel a crankbait more through your reel than anything else, more than rod, more than anything else. So anglers are making it harder on themselves by buying some of the new reels that has the infinite and reverse, because you can't feel with it. You can feel when it gets close to you, and you start feeling with the rod, but when my bait hits the water and I make 2 cranks, I want to feel it.
And what makes that happen? What?
Because your reel becomes 100 times, 1,000 times more sensitive when you take that clutch out of it.
Really?
Yes, absolutely, no question.
I think that's the first time I ever heard that.
My mind is blown.
Yeah, absolutely. My mind was blown last year by the braid cranking thing, and now the infinite anti-reverse deal right now.
We call it a multi-stop, and what it is it's a 6-pin system that keeps your handle from going all the way back. The old lues and the old reels, your handle used to go about halfway back. Well, this one just goes a little over maybe a 20% back.
Gotcha.
And so it's more comfortable, and it's almost like fishing an infinite reverse reel, but you have the feel back in the reel.
Gotcha. And are you still subscribing to the low gear ratio?
Oh yeah, it's 5:1 to 1, 21 inch per turn, and no matter what the ratio is, the big key is the inches per turn. So you want to hang in there somewhere around 21 as close as you can.
Gotcha. And that's for all cranking, not
That's
just
for
deep
all
cranking, square
yes.
bills, shallow, everything.
Yep, it doesn't matter.
You're just going to wind faster if you need to?
Yeah. If you stay between 21 and 25, you're probably okay with a 25. But that's starting to get fast. That's 4 inches difference. And you're sitting there and you're counting 4 inches every time you turn that handle. It actually adds up to a lot.
Yeah, it sure does.
And you start losing a lot of fish and missing a lot of fish, then you need to slow down. You need to make sure you got that 21 inch per turn reel.
And you see a lot of Elite Series anglers, FLW Tour pros cranking now with even the 8-to-1s and the 7s.
9-to-1s.
It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like so much extra work. Like Aaron Martins, who's an amazing fisherman.
It's like riding a bike uphill in 5th gear.
Takahiro Omori, a great crankbait fisherman, throwing a 9-to-1 crankbait reel. How does that happen?
Well, one thing, they can't be winding it real fast. There's no way. You're going to lose more fish than you catch.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you can wind it fast for slightly and then stop it or slow it up, and enough to let the fish catch up with it. And a lot of it is where you're at and what you're fishing. But day in and day out, 100% of the time, a slower reel is going to catch more of them. You're going to catch more of the fish. Not necessarily get more bites, but you're going to catch more of them.
I gotcha. And how do you account for that? Like, I recall hearing a story from another amazing crankbait fisherman, Rick Clunn, and he drew Fred Young in a tournament. You've probably heard this story before, and what he was fascinated by was that Fred Young was actually burning that crankbait as fast as he could back to the boat, that old Big O.
Yeah.
So it's a total different school of thought, because, or maybe you still do this, but just with the lower gear ratio reel.
Well, I like to wind pretty fast. The key to crankbait fishing is making your bait lively. You don't want it to be lazy, and you don't want it blistering so erratic that you're going to lose a lot of the fish. But you got to wind it fast enough to make it lively.
Gotcha.
It's a happy medium.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with your line. And people don't realize that your line, when it ties down to that bait, well, when your bait's vibrating, moving from side to side, that line is too.
Sure.
So the bigger the line you put on there, the more liveliness you take out of that lure.
Slows it down.
It does. It slows it down.
Makes it more sluggish.
Yeah.
So what is the ideal braid to crank with?
I like 10-pound diameter, and actually on minnow-type baits, like our bad shad from Berkeley and some of the shad baits, I like 8.
Okay.
So 10-pound diameter, meaning like 30-pound break strength?
Yeah, what I use is 30-pound braid that's 10-pound diameter.
Okay.
Yeah, the new, actually Berkeley has some new line out, the X9.
Gotcha.
Good God Almighty, what line? I mean, that stuff is incredible. And the spider wire ultra cast is really good crankbait line too. You can throw it; it doesn't jam up down your spool, and those are the 2 ultimate braids. If somebody out there wants to start trying braid, and believe me, when you be prepared when you start trying it, you're going to want to put it on every time you go fishing.
Nice.
I got to imagine too, when you go up north and you're snatching those things out of the grass, that braid's got to help a lot.
Oh, it does. It's amazing. I mean, that braid will cut through grass like nothing. Better than any monofilm that's ever been made.
Yep.
And fishing with the braid, is that like All the time? If you're throwing a crankbait now, are you throwing braid all the time?
All the time.
All the time, because I know you hate fluorocarbon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not using fluorocarbon.
Just not happening.
No, not ever.
not even mono.
Yeah, I use mono some.
Okay, and when do you do that?
Mono would be if you got a really flat day out there and you're fishing in water that you can see 5 and 6 feet deep with, and you're having to wind slow.
Gotcha. And what do you use?
That's the only time.
Are you using like the Trilene XT or the big game?
Sensation.
The Sensation you like? Okay,
Yeah.
That's a copolymer.
Yeah,
Okay.
copolymer.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Yep, low stretch.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah, low stretch.
I've been with Berkeley for years, and one of my favorite lines. I throw all my top waters on the Sensation. I mean, that's it's a good deal. And I know you've gone over this a million times, and the reason I do this is because we reach new people all the time. This whole crankbait phenomenon, and you being one of the best in the business, the rod action, that importance of that soft parabolic fiberglass cranking rod.
Well, it is. A lot of things have to go together. The parabolic really helps in when a fish really makes those hard pulls and hard head shakes. It absorbs that. You can run your drag looser, and by running your drag looser, if you've got a bass that is hair-lipped, you can catch it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just barely skinned.
Yep.
Just barely skinned.
So you're running your drag loose, so it'll pull all the time?
Yeah, I tell folks you can almost pull it out with your lips.
Really?
Wow.
But when you raise the rod up, it takes a whole lot more to pull it out. And if the fish makes a surge, you just point the rod at him, and it's like he's not even hooked. Another thing is, like if a fish is going to come up and jump, point your rod at it.
Like a tarpon.
And he'll go back down. You want to see a fish, you hold that rod up and you crank hard as you can, and you'll get to see him.
Yeah, he gonna go.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's gonna.
The problem is, a lot of times that's the only time you get to see him.
And I remember seeing you do that on an FLW derby you won on Okeechobee.
Yeah.
When you won it cranking.
Yep.
And you were actually giving me anxiety and panic attacks during that tournament with the amount of time that you took to land those big Florida bass.
Yeah.
I was like, get it in, David. Come on, do it. It was right there.
He did.
Yeah, and you did get it in. But I was like, oh my God. I think I even remember Jerry McInnes was commentating at the time, and he was like, come on, David, get the fish in.
We'll be back after this commercial break with the landing.
And then here comes Jerry in a helicopter, and you're still fighting the fish. At the time. That was a pretty unique tournament.
Yeah.
Right? That was. You were fishing like dynamite holes or something.
Yeah, I was fishing where all that shallow water met something that was different. A little bit deeper water. Could be rocks. It could be a piece of trash. But, yeah, it was.
That was a unique time for Okeechobee.
Yeah. And, you have to have the right conditions in Florida to do that. Obviously, when a lot of the fish are bedding and they're up real shallow, low water tends to keep them closer to those areas.
Sure.
And it makes it a little more fair for me.
Not a lot of derbies won on crankbaits in Florida.
Right.
There are some. Hey, you had a pretty good first day over at Lake Weho, whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah, first and second day.
First and second
real
day.
Good.
Yeah.
And actually, I should have done it the third day, but that's one of these deals we're talking about. I lost all the fish. The first day I lost 3. That was 4+. The second day I lost 4. That was 4+. The last day I lost 5. And weighed in 1.
Oh, and describe what you were doing.
Yeah. Well, I was actually dropping a war pig, and it was almost impossible to catch one. And a war pig is a lipless Berkeley crankbait.
I love them. Love them.
And I was also Carolina rigging, and I was. The deal was the fish were not on the bottom, and everybody's asked me how in the world was I catching those and nobody else was catching them. The fish wasn't on the bottom. If you threw a Carolina rig out there and it didn't bite it going down, you just wind it 7 or 8 times and let it fall, and then bite it.
Really?
Wow.
It was crazy
That's
way
nuts.
to fish. Yeah, that's nuts.
Never heard of
Your
that.
line just goes slack? You're winding it, drop it, and it goes go?
Yeah. And
Wow.
then I'd bite it.
Swimming the Carolina rig for suspended fish.
Never heard of that.
That's a new one. But that war pig,
is probably my favorite.
It's the best
lipless
drop bait out there.
The action it has is nuts.
If you want to throw a bait that will flat catch them when they want a bait that's falling in front of them, that bait is relentless. They just cannot stand it.
And when the water is very cold, that 1/4 ounce war pig, dude, we don't talk about it a lot because it's that good.
Yeah, a lot of people don't talk about a lot of the Berkeley hard baits because they're that good, but the word is getting out. I mean, I know the Bad Shad, the first year we come out with them, I know in North Carolina alone, the first 4 tournaments was one on them. And nobody knew what he was winning with. And, you know, he called me up. I was at Spirit Lake working on some baits. He says, I got to have some more of these. And you know, just never, it's like everybody else. When you win a tournament, you don't want to let out something that's new. You don't want to let it out into the market, but it's catching on.
So when you go to Spirit Lake to design baits, I'm always fascinated about the mad scientists at Berkeley that are over there. I mean, obviously you do on the water development, but they have such an extensive research laboratory there too, man. And how do you get involved in that?
Well, they've just got a facility, bar none, that nobody else can compete with. We have a 15-foot swimming pool, long, I don't know, it's 60 feet, 30 yards or something like that. We also have a flow tank that we can see how the bait is acting under every speed condition of winding it.
Gotcha.
Top, bottom, side, you can see the whole bait. And you can make small changes and actually see that. We have to film it, but we can see that. We even go out in the back, in the yard, and throw baits just to see how far we can throw it and how much better it throws than other baits. So, and then we take it to the lake. And, you know, that's the ultimate test. I know when we made the 25.5, and you're probably familiar with that.
Yep.
It's a normal size crankbait that runs 25 feet deep.
Exactly.
Well, we go out there and we go to, I don't remember which lake it was. It was North Spirit or something like that. And we're out there fishing. I said, boys, we got to find a deeper lake. I mean, it was 24 feet deep, and you can't hit the bottom. I mean, you're hitting the bottom, and you can't tell how much is hitting the bottom.
Right.
So we end up going to 3 different lakes before we got a lake deep enough to test that lure.
And you don't even need a long line those 25.5s.
Yeah, you don't.
and when you test these baits, are you testing them on different lines as well?
We are mostly 10-pound tests because I think I sort of use 10-pound tests as a standard, as the, you know, if you need to get a little bit deeper, you can go with 8. If you need to bring it up a little bit, you can go with 12.
Okay, and that brings up, we're doing this live, and we have some people asking some questions here. Mark Harmon wanted to know does using braid cut back on the depth that your crankbait runs?
No, if you use braided line, now, even though you got 30-pound tests, it still should be 10-pound diameter.
Okay.
Some braids are 20-pound test, 10-pound diameter. As long as you stay with that 011, it's the same as mono. It's the same as everything.
Gotcha.
So this is all about the diameter and how far you can throw it. If you can't throw something far, you're not going to get depth.
Okay.
You got to be able to cast it a long way.
Makes sense.
Good.
It makes sense. And so when you're still doing the research and development, like you talked about filming the baits, and if you see that, you know, let's just take the Bad Shad for example. If you see it not behaving correctly, does that trigger the response that maybe we need to adjust the lip angle or maybe move the line tire? And how do you determine something like that?
Well, it takes it's a lot of work, and you think about it day and night. Even when I'm not at Spirit Lake, you're thinking about what to do. But I'll tell you the goal on the Bad Shad. The Bad Shad was, I'd figured out a long time ago, I had this one bait, and the tail made a circle. And if we could make that tail make a circle, that put off a different sound. And fish would come to it like 100 times better.
That's a crankbait you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is it a wood one that you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the Bad Shad. The Bad Shad, the tail
No, I mean the old one that you had.
Yeah, the old one was a wood one.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, and it was pretty much handmade. I mean, this was a bait that I'd got somewhere and played with it, and it was like, man, the best bait ever. I mean, you know, a shad
Cherished.
wrap. I mean, all the shad baits wouldn't even in the same ballpark with this bait.
Something special.
And because all shad baits make a slice, they make a slice. Ours makes a little round circle, so it's putting off a different sound.
Gotcha.
2 weeks in that float tank for me to get that. That's how long it took.
Really?
And that's all about changing where the pull point is, the lip angle, and I'm gonna tell you some stuff that nobody knows. You know, moving the lip up on the bait or down on the bait can change everything.
Absolutely, it can.
It's you know, everybody, you look at a crankbait and the lip comes out of it, you don't even think anything about it, but you can move that lip up or move it down and totally change the action of the bait.
100%.
You're like a mad scientist.
He is.
And it, you know, most crankbait manufacturers don't even know anything about that. But
but hey, I'm a crankbait freak myself, and that's why I asked you about lip angles, because I know it's everything right there.
Yeah, and the pull point is the biggest thing, and that's to get it. I can walk around this show here at the FLW and look at a crankbait and tell you pretty close to how good it could be, and you'll be surprised. A lot of the new baits, they catch fisherman's eye, and they catch a fisherman, and that's about all they're going to catch. In all honesty, the pull points are off on 90% of the new baits that I see.
You can tell by looking at them.
Tell by looking.
Tell by looking.
Yep.
And the thing too, I mean, once you got that bad shed to do that little circle, what was your reaction?
I told Jeff Williamson, he was the guy that hired me at Berkeley, and I said, this is it right here.
That's the deal.
And you know, then we come out with it and it wins the first 4 tournaments that year, and I knew it was going to. I mean, I knew what it was going to do. And then, you know, like the dredger and the diggers that we have now, there is no better bait in the right situation. There's not anything that will touch those baits. That dredger, we have took a small bait the size of a 200 Bandit, and we can make it run 10 or 11 feet deep by the way water flows over it.
Wow, it's crazy.
And, you know, we've done things, we've took crankbaits actually to the next level. We really have. And I impressed myself.
Nice.
I did.
That's a big deal right there if that happens.
The dredger, I made 28 different bodies trying to make it get down and not whine so hard. And then all of a sudden, a little girl there on our office, you know, we got the crankbait hall there. There's 4 of us, Keith Ostrom and Dan Spangler, myself, and the lady that does all the adjusting, that does the computer design. And I said, this is what I want. And for some reason, she made it, and the bottom of the bait was the widest part.
Well, the widest.
The widest. And then I said, we're on to something here. And then we went and we put some weight in the lip of it to make it turn a certain angle.
Gotcha.
And when we done that, when water hit that bait, it was just like you took your hand and pushed it down in the water. It was
straight down.
Totally amazing. That's how we can get a crankbait that's 3 1/4 inches long and run 25 feet deep.
That's amazing. Wow. And you've been involved, you know, over the years, you know, with different crankbait companies and developing crankbaits. But it seems to me that you have been given the most liberties by Berkeley to really expand and put to fruition what's in the mind of the Duke of Crankbaits.
Well, we have, but I've had the facility to do it in. And we've got lucky on a few things, like figuring out the way water flows over. It's just like these car manufacturers trying to make a car get 25 miles a gallon. Well, we can take a crankbait and make it run twice as deep and wind twice as easy.
Right. It's like the wind tunnels. You guys are just using water.
Yeah. And it was plumb stupid, and I still think every day I kick myself in the butt. Why in the world didn't I think of this 25 years ago?
Well, you have more technology now.
Well,
though,
it just didn't have the facility to do that either.
Right.
And it's really catching on. They've been. I mean, we've got a crankbait that's most crankbaits. For most companies, a 2.5 inch crankbait runs 10 feet deep. That's pretty common knowledge, and that's pretty close to what they'll do. I'm going to say 8 to 11 feet. Well, we got a 10-foot crankbait that runs 15 feet plus.
Nice.
So you can imagine what happens when you take that up north around those smallmouth.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, you got a because smallmouth don't like big baits, but I can take a normal size crankbait.
Yeah.
and cast that thing up there, and it's just stupid. I mean, it's just stupid easy.
They'll follow those big baits, but they don't touch them.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get the morsels.
Not near
in
as
there.
good. Now
Right.
you get wind that sometimes. But,
Yeah.
And like I say, the same thing with a small bait. And to give you another example, we have what we call the Digger series.
Yep.
And this is a bait that's got a crawdad action real wide. Well, there's one bait in particular called the 4.5. It's new this year. The sucker has about twice the action of the other ones. We change the angle, but if you're in tidal water, you're up in the rivers fishing, any of those situations where you're fishing 6 feet, even a square bill, where you do good on square bills, this thing will outproduce a square bill any day of the week.
Really?
It's just because of the action. When it hits something, it really deflects off
That's
of
the
it.
4.5 digger?
4.5 digger.
Gotcha. And how deep does that run?
Hold your rod down 6 feet, hold your rod up 4 feet.
Gotcha. And the exaggerated action.
Yep.
In the current and all that.
It's just pushing a lot of water. It's really, really, really super lively.
Andy, remind us to order some 4.5 diggers, please, after the show.
Write that down.
Need 'em.
That's outstanding, David. I know that you have plenty of stuff to do here. You're here with Berkeley. You're here with Lou's, and you're here for the people of the bass fishing galaxy.
Oh yeah, yep. We're up there hanging out with Evan Root and Ranger, and you know, all my favorite people.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much, Dave, for coming on and hanging out with us
All right,
again,
thank
man.
you, guys.
We look forward to the next time.
Right.
Hey, I'm Pat Renwick. More action from the 2018 Forest Wood Cup continues when we come back. Put the power poles down. Don't go nowhere. Hey, I want to talk a little bit more about that cold water cranking, and obviously you designed that that dollar bill crankbait for PH with your technique of flat side cranking in mind, and that crankbait's a little different than a lot of flat side crankbaits in the dollar bill. It's got a little thump to it, doesn't it, Bill?
Well, yeah, like you said, so many crankbaits that are good in cold water have that tight wiggle to them. And I like a flat-sided bait that has what I call a little bit of resistance to it. I want to be able to feel what that bait's doing, and that's what we did with that dollar bill. We put a little wider lip in it, and it didn't increase the action of the bait hardly at all. It still has a really tight wiggle. What that did is give that bait some resistance, so now you can feel what it's doing. You can stay in contact with that bait, and that's exactly why we designed that dollar bill.
Yeah, right there. Have you ever hand carved your own crankbait, like in the spare time that you don't have?
I have not.
That takes a lot of patience, doesn't it?
It does, and
throw farther, get some Kevin VanDam's line and lure. You can launch it a mile. Still going. Well, better stick to fishing.
Bite me! It's a command to the fish. Quality jig heads with quality components. With tried and true tackle like the Big Dude Goby head, the Hunter or Jacob head, or all new tackle like the Jackpot Net head or Buster swim bait head. Bite me! It's a command to the fish. Get the lead out and visit bitemetackle.net today.
The swim jig technique is one of the most successful ways to put fish in the boat. Time in and time out, Brovani Bait swim jigs are just the right tool for the job. Beaming with quality, the Brovani swim jigs come in a myriad of colors, feature the best premium hooks and solid trailer keepers to give you, the serious bass angler, the confidence you need to accomplish your goal of putting more fish in the boat. So go to BrovaniBaits.com and start climbing the ladder to swim jig success.
It appears that we have a mystery guest.
We've been infiltrated.
Kevin, we have been infiltrated by the system. It appears to be Thanos. Is that
Thanos?
Is that Thanos? Can you see that, Kevin?
There.
Hello. How are you?
I'm okay tonight.
All right.
I hear you talking, but your lips aren't moving.
Yes.
It's a bit of stigmatism.
It's a stigmatism. Okay, I got you. Well, Kevin,
My apologies.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I know our producer has a special mystery guest lined up for a game of Jeopardy. So I guess we're going to play a little game of Jeopardy right now with mystery guest.
I love games.
All right. Can you hear him, Kevin?
Yeah, it's kind of. It's pretty weird.
Yeah, I know. It's very
It's
weird.
almost like he's inside of a mask.
Well, let's
expect out of Stray Cats.
I'm a little tinny-head.
Okay, let's play Jeopardy with Kevin VanDam and mystery guest
Stoneface.
Stoneface Thanos. The categories are their real names, has-been sex symbols, and classic crankbaits. Classic crankbaits. Okay, Kevin, would you like to go first? And remember, you have to answer in question form. In question form.
This is Jeopardy.
Or you know the deal, the Jeopardy kind of deal. You know the deal. Okay. So, Kev, you want to go first or you want to pass it to that, whatever that is?
I'm going to go classic crankbaits.
Oh, classic crank? Look at you.
As old as I am, I ought to be able to be good at that.
Look at you. All right. Let's do classic crankbaits. Where the heck is my notes? Okay. Tak knew it that this classic crankbait would win him the 04
What
Classic.
is the Bagley Square?
Hey.
Wait, it's Kevin.
Hey.
What is the Bagley B2 square bill?
A Bagley B2 square bill. That is correct. Kevin, you guys are keeping score, right?
I did.
Bagley B2 square bill.
He knew it.
Okay. Now, Kevin, would you like to keep the ball, or you want to pass it on to that guy, or what do you want to do?
I'll run it.
Okay. What do you want to keep going classic cranks? You want to go
Yeah.
Okay.
Classic. I figure I ought to be good at this.
Okay. Actually, there we go. Rick Clunn actually won the 1990 Classic on 2 versions of this crankbait.
What is an RC1 and an RC3?
And wow, he nailed it too. You went right to the 3. I like how you did that. Holy cow.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have a tough time on that. We'll let him go with whatever category.
Okay.
I know the classic crankbaits.
You're okay. So we're gonna pass on the category. So mystery guest, what category would you like? Has-been sex symbols, or what was the other one I had? Has-been sex symbols, or
Their real names.
Their real names. Their real names.
What is Daisy Duke?
What is what?
I think he said Daisy Duke.
How did he know? Like, can he read my thing?
Am I right?
Well, that's not a real name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no.
But wait a second. This is extremely weird because I swear to... Can he read my notes? Wait, no, it isn't. That's not even the right thing. Wow, that was a crazy thing that just happened right there. Never mind. What? Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? This is their real names. Thank you. Back on track. That was insane. All right.
Okay.
Okay, you're okay, Stoneface. Marshall found that beats, rhymes, and women were all that really mattered. Marshall found that beats, rhymes, and women were all that really mattered.
Yeah, who is Marshall Mathers, a.k.a.? M&M.
M&M. That is correct. That is correct. Okay. Okay, so would you like to keep the ball or would you like to pass back to Kevin?
Let's pass it. I don't like the ball.
All right. Kevin, this is for you. This is in real names. Eldrick may have been made fun of in school, but he was the one who laughed all the way through the woods to the bank. Eldrick may have been made fun of in school, but he is the one who laughed all the way through the woods and to the bank.
I have no idea.
No idea.
I'm lost on that one.
The answer is, do you know Stoneface?
Who is Jim Wilburn?
No, that is not right. That is not Jim Wilburn. The correct answer is Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods' real name is Eldrick Woods. There we go.
I didn't know that.
So let's tally it up. We're going to tally it up. Do we have an official score? Andrew, have you tallied it? Yep. Who do we have as the winner?
Kevin VanDam.
It's 2-1.
It's 2-1 Kevin VanDam. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin VanDam is the victor. Kevin is the victor.
Who is this guy?
I don't even know who this is. Masked Man, would you care to reveal yourself to Kevin?
Well, I want to put up a hot dog stand or some shit.
So what are you going to sell?
Well, I got a little house. It's black. I want the thing torn down as soon as possible.
I don't even know what he's.
What is going on?
I don't even know what he's talking about. I have no clue whatsoever. Kevin, do you want to take a guess at who that is?
That's got to be Mike Iaconelli.
Oh, come on, man. That ain't cool. I'm dying in that mask. I was hot. I'm breathing this thing.
That was impressive, man. You did a good job of hiding it, but
I'm impressed you knew who it was.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Do you guys send each other Christmas cards still or no?
Well, we didn't this year, but things got a little confusing. You know what I mean? Things got a little confusing. But I do want to say Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, Kevin. It's good to see you.
Yeah, man. I'm sure you've been busy, too. That's I'm sitting here. You see what I'm working on.
You got to multitask during a bass fishing talk show.
Well, I can't with questions like that. I got to focus on them. I can't be taking hooks off baits.
But you won Jeopardy, Kevin. That's another accomplishment.
Classic crankbait deal, though. I think Mike would he'd give me a run for my money on that too.
Oh, he
He's
would.
a student too.
Yeah, I'm a crankbait junkie. I was excited to hear some of those questions. So
I've been in Mike's garage. He's got the cranks, bro. He's got the cranks.
Oh, I got some old wiggle warts that he's dying to get.
But Mike's got the B2s. I seen the Bagley B2s he's got.
I got a few. I like to have some warts though. The mole warts they're like gold, man.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, Michael, thank you so much for coming in here and giving it a fair attempt against Kevin VanDam.
Thank you. Second place again to Kevin. Thank you.